Alright everyone, CNN is sort of the last holdout trying to defend Beijing Biden when it comes to his idiotic drone strikes right before we left Afghanistan. You'll remember the second strike that was conducted, the first strike killed 2 people supposedly. We don't have their names, we don't have any further info, but they claim that a couple of ISIS-K members were planning to attack the airport. We got them. I don't believe that claim because it just comports to what Biden would want for propaganda purposes, and I'm not going to trust the U.S. government in its word by saying we conducted the strike. We don't even have footage of a crater. With the second strike, it seems that they did kill an ISIS operative. The problem is they also killed 10 civilians. They were children. CNN is the only group, as far as I know, that's still even talking about it, and they're doing that for the half-assed purpose of defending Biden, saying, well, yeah, they had intel, they saw one of them loading something into a trunk, and they figured it's a bomb, and they're going to attack the airport gate. We had to stop them, so we killed them, yay. Oh yeah, there were a bunch of civilians, a bunch of kids got splattered, but that's war, basically. Link in the description, archived, of course, it's essentially the intonation here. That's rather tone-deaf, number one. Number two, when you kill 1 or 2 operatives at the cost of 10 civilians, what you've done is make more operatives because you've gotten them sympathy. They have a propaganda card to play. It wasn't just ISIS, by the way, playing it. The Taliban was playing it. The Afghan civilians, they're like, oh, well, at first we thought ISIS had bombed something, but it turned out it was the Americans, as usual. These people have become like cold to the world at this point. They're like so used to the U.S. killing civilians in the region, tens of thousands of them with drone strikes over the last 2 decades, and airstrikes and everything else. They're like hardened to it. They don't even really, display emotion about it anymore unless they're directly connected to the people because it's become commonplace. Now, I would say that when you're exiting Afghanistan, the worst thing you can do is leave one final fuck you antagonistic moment to the civilian population that you've just spent months claiming you want to defend. Well, don't worry, the Afghan government that we helped create from scratch will be able to fend off the Taliban. We've had multiple instances where Joe Biden flat out lied to the whole population. Not just the U.S. population, although mainly. He lied to our allies that were involved and certainly to the Afghans that worked with us. First, we were told the Taliban had basically no chance of taking over. Then they did it in record time. He lied about leaving people behind in Afghanistan. We now know at this very moment there were at least 19 Americans at the airport, not counting potentially hundreds or even thousands of Americans, interpreters and shit that are stranded around Afghanistan. They're presumably going to be held for ransom. Backdoor talks presumably will result in the Taliban getting a big payoff. And then they're just hoping that ISIS doesn't fire a rocket from some outskirt of Kabul when the plane is taking off, which is probably why the flight is currently delayed. In this point, Biden is essentially lying by omission about this too. He said, oh, well, we conducted another strike. We killed an ISIS operative. There was a probable attack in the airport. Did the initial presser mention anything about all the civilians that were dead? Initially, funnily enough, it was Al Jazeera, I think, that broke that story. Even before the Western legacy media, and I'm like, well, I can't take Al Jazeera at their word any more than I can MSNBC or CNN or something, so I think I'll wait until a few other outlets report it, because if you get one good East Bloc, like Al Jazeera, RT, reporting the same thing as CNN, then it becomes a bit more corroborated, because it's really difficult for their interests to line up. But basically, they try to bury it on page 2, or they do what CNN is doing, which is they still defend Biden's action. It's indefensible. They shouldn't have taken the shot at that particular moment. Couldn't they have, if they had this vehicle in their sights, could they not have monitored the situation, as these people are fond of doing, for, I don't know, an hour or something? Certainly they weren't immediately going to attack the airport. They have to drive there first. Couldn't you have waited till they were on an open highway or some shit? Certainly you had more than one opportunity to take a clean shot. Like I've said, maybe they should develop drones that fire non-explosive munitions so they can take out individuals without killing everyone around them, but that's a different story. This is insane. The legacy, at least one legacy media outlet, the Clinton News Network, of course, still trying to defend the dude over killing a bunch of kids. And this isn't new, by the way. This was a thing under Trump. It was a thing under Obama. It was a thing under W. It's been a thing for a long time. The U.S. keeps conducting drone and airstrikes, and 75% of all of those killed or injured aren't combatants. If you're deploying it in an urban area, of course, that risk rises much more dramatically than if it's out in the hinterlands of Nowheresville, Afghanistan, out in a poppy field or out in some cave somewhere. Okay, then probably there aren't many civilians around because the population density is like 2 people per square mile. Kabul's a reasonably large urban area. There's a lot of urban development there, although most of it's being bombed on a regular basis and riddled with bullet holes, and you killed 10 kids. How is that defensible? CNN found a way. Leave it to them to be the war pig network. I thought that it was a bad idea. And it was basically just, it was Biden's last fuck you because there were attacks on the airport, which they blame on ISIS, and that may not be true either, for all we know. Basically, Biden's like, oh shit, if I don't, I've got like a week to do something. I've got to retaliate because otherwise I look weak. Just choose a random ISIS target. They're all over the place. You see their flag, fucking bomb it. Didn't even care that there were kids there. His only wish is that he could have taken the kids and sniffed them first, probably. That's about all. Peace out.